Okay, we've had a lot of questions about how do you want to manage a trade, or is there a way that you can eliminate some of these losing trades that happen on the box? And I'm going to dive into that. One of the things, a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one, nothing's 100%, so it's just not gonna work that way. The idea behind the box is that it's going to capture these big, large moves, and these markets have been extremely volatile. There's been a lot of movement, so there's been a lot of opportunity to capture some of these big. Some of these have been 100, 120 point runs that the box is picking up here. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can manage that. So if you're not familiar with the box, then there's a couple of things that you basically, when it's below, this box that forms here is when a price closes below here, and we're looking at this on 1,000 tick chart. This is customizable on any market. You can put it on any time frame. You can use tick charts, minute charts, range charts, volume charts, Renko charts, anything that you like, you can put it on this. So if you want to do short little scalping trades, or you want to do big, big trades where you're swinging a trade maybe for a few days or a few weeks, it's customizable to anything. It works on stocks, futures, forex, bonds, anything you can put on a chart, you can trade with this thing. So it's incredibly versatile. And then why the candles are blue is that they're blue here because the last signal over here on the left, the last signal was a buy signal. They're red right here because this current signal is a sell signal, and when they're yellow, it's because they're trading inside of the box, and then they go blue again. Okay, so that's a feature, and it's extremely customizable. You can change it whatever you want with that. I'm going to turn it off for the purposes of what we're doing here today to walk you through this. So what we're going to cover here, and by the end of this video, I'm going to have talked to you about how do you spot and eliminate the lower probability trades that show up on the box, and how do you maximize the trades that are working so that you get the most profit possible out of them. And whether you use the box or not, you can learn something from how to manage your trades inside of what I'm going to walk you through here. So a couple of things here. If you don't use the box, you can go check it out, daytradelikeapro.com. It's under tools for traders. I'll put a link here under the video where you can go check that out if you want to see how the box works and check that part out. So one of the things I want to jump into right here, get right to it, is over here we have this. Let me actually just remove all these and we'll start over here. Also, I'm quarantined at home, like probably all of you that are watching this, at least if you're watching it around the time I'm recording it. And that also looks like being quarantined at home with 4 kids. So who knows what interruptions we might have, and that's just going to get included here in what we're doing. It's part of life right now. So okay, so we have a high, and then I'm going to go with the major, the more kind of, we have a swing here. I'm not going to mark all that, but what you can see is that we have a pretty good push down here, and then see how it kind of starts to slow down, and then there's sort of this, I mean, you could even draw that off of there, but, and then see how we have this right there, and then we have this kind of bigger, kind of that probes down right there. So we have this high, and then we have this swing high right here. And I'm going to actually draw this all the way out here because I'm going to use that in just a minute. So I'm doing this all before, I'm following along here. I see we have this big push down here, and here we come back up. I tried to specifically find some places, and we're going to move through here, where the box would have had multiple signals that didn't make big runs. Maybe they only went a few points or a handful of points or something like that. So I tried to find some of those. So we'll talk about some of those specifically. So here's your big push down, and that's about 20 points down to here. And move this back over here. So there's a swing low. We take out that swing low. We come back up here. Notice we take out this swing high right here. We take that out right here. And then we come down here, we put in a higher low. So we have a high over here. We have a lower low than the previous low. Then we have a lower high right here. And then we have a higher low right here. And then we have, if you start really breaking it down, then we have a higher low and a lower high. This is consolidation right in here. This is trending lower, and then that stops, and we move into it's consolidating here. Now we break out of that consolidation, we get this move down to here. So we eventually break lower, we get this move right down to here. So we have low, 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 and then we get a signal on the box, and that signal on the box actually happens on this candle. As the box forms, you get a signal. Now remember, I said it's any signal whenever the candle closes below the box. So number one, this is way away from this box. So you have 02, the risk would be up here above 07 typically. And I'll talk to you about that in just a second about how I'd manage the risk. So I don't want to enter down here at 07 and have my risk way up here like 8 points away. And I don't want to enter on this candle that's moving back up here towards the box. So what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for so there's a couple places you could enter. Number one, let's just go with the standard place that you might enter, which would be right here at the bottom of the box. So let's say the box it comes up here, and then one way you could do this, you could just put a limit order here and get short here. That's fine. Another thing you could do is you could wait for it to come back down and close back down outside of the box and see if there's a little bit of a confirmation. And then I'm going to walk you through something here and see if I can have this make sense for you. So this is an area, see these swings? I'm looking for that. So see how it came back down here? I'm looking for what this was support, and then I'm looking that was support. I'm looking for those support to become resistance. And then I got to keep my eye over here because that was, we had this support right there. But then probably this would be a better area. So that 07 area, I'm looking for that. So if this comes up here, and I want my trades to work pretty quick. So if I got short right here, this thing came up, it started to come back down. Now what did I just say? I said I'm looking for, is support becoming resistance, or is resistance becoming support? So in this case, if I can do this without making it really complicated here, we had this came down, we came up, this was resistance, we came back up above it, and that resistance now becomes support. Now, what's the next likely move that's going to happen? Well, we already used what this was, we already sold off from right here where this resistance, what became resistance over here. You can see that. So now I'm kind of looking at the next spot, and I would say, that 0675, 07 area. I'm just going to draw. So now, if I'm short right here, and this comes down here like this and starts coming back up here, I'm going to just get out of this trade as it comes back up here if I didn't take any of my profit, which I likely wouldn't have because that only went about 3 points from that entry. So I wouldn't have been taking any profit personally. And so when this comes back up here, I'm definitely paying attention to this middle part of the box, the red line. That's the mid part on the box here. But it could come back up here to this area. And I'm going to see, can they start to move lower from there? So maybe I'll put a limit order up here to get short right here and see if that can work. And now I have much more of a limited risk because I'm short here from 07, and I'm actually going to have my risk up above here. I want it to close up above this swing right here because it could come up and close up above here, which would match this previous candle right there. I really want it to come up and close up above here, or at least close above this area. So I'm watching that 08, 08 half. That's really where my risk is going to be. So the box is telling me 07.75. I'm going to bump that just a tick or maybe 2 more ticks. Okay, it's really worth the little extra risk for me. So here's where we have, I'm looking for this area up here. Now, what if I have a limit order up here and I don't get filled and it just starts moving back down? No problem. I'll talk about how we're going to treat that in a minute here. So let's just go one at a time here. Okay, great. So it comes up here and I may or may not be filled if my limit order was right on that price. Now I'm definitely filled. So where's my risk? My risk is really here at so I'm short at 07, and my risk is really here at 08 half, maybe a tick or so above that. So I'm short from 07 and my risk is a 1.5 or something like that. And we start selling off. Now, what is the first thing that I want to be looking for? I want to be looking for this mid part on the box. Does that show up as support? And then below that, it's really kind of, it's a little tricky on this one because you have this probe up here. So could this become support? So I'm kind of watching these areas. So if I'm short from here at 07, I'm going, all right, we got to get through this 04, got to get through 05 quarter, which that was kind of good. This looks really good still for going short. But then we got to get through this 0375 area, and then we've got to get down below this area, and of course, getting back below the box and closing lower. That would be a really good. So these are kind of the areas that we've got to get through to keep going lower. So I'm watching that, and then let's see what happens here. Okay, so we're bouncing off of this area again. Now, what am I looking for? Can we hold this 07 area, right? That's going to be important. I want to see, can we hold this down here? Okay, so this is good. So we come down to this lower one. So now we're holding, we bounce back up here a little bit. Now we're holding below here. We get below here. We didn't close below here, but we at least came down to here, which was this area that we marked. And just so you guys know, 2 things. One, this does not repaint, number 1, okay? So the box does not repaint. If you don't know what that means, it just means there are these indicators out there that look different in real time than they do if you go back and look at it after. So the box doesn't repaint. It's the same in real time and 100 years after that. So no repainting happening. And then this would be the next area. We got to get through this 03, 0275 and get another, basically, these would be all yellow if they were colored. We got to get some red candles here if we're going to keep moving lower. So at this point, I don't want it to come back up above 05 quarter, and I definitely don't want it to come back up above 06 quarter. So this would be like, yeah, I don't really like that, but if it comes back up here, so now I'm short at 07, and I'm just going to move my stop a tick below that at 0675, because you want to understand not what I'm doing, that's important, but you want to understand why I'm doing that. If I'm short here from 07, and the market already used this 07 area as resistance, so now I'm looking for, can they hold this 05 quarter as resistance, and they move down here. So they come back up. Let's see what happens. Can it hold below here? If it comes back up to here, my next resistance area isn't until back up into here, and I'm not willing to let this trade that I've been, 07 to 03 half. I'm up 3.5 points on this trade, and I'm not willing to turn that into a loss. So I'm going to just move my stop here to break even, or a tick in front of break even. So my stop is going to come down here like this. It's going to be a tick above, 2 ticks above this, 1 tick in front of my entry. I'm protecting this trade now. Okay? And wisely protecting it. So what happens? Boom, here's a buy signal. So I'm out of my trade at break even. And, we never got through that. We came back up above here. This was the first clue, really. You could have even said, well, I'm going to put my stop down here and I'm going to get a point of profit if that's going to happen. However you want to manage that, that's really up to you. And your stats will tell you, if you're keeping stats, it'll tell you how you should be doing that. So you're short here, comes down, comes back up. You don't really want it much above here. You definitely don't want it above here. So you're out here, somewhere between a tick and a point in profit. And no big deal. So now we've really closed, if we look back over here, The box, you can have it be as sort of mindless as you want it to be, but if you want to optimize this thing and you want to make as much money as possible, I'm going to show you the ways that you can do that, okay? This area, I'm going to draw it like this. So I'm going to erase all of the drawing tools that I put in here, and I'm going to go back and show you something here that I think you want to pay attention to. So look at this. We had this move down, and then we bounce right here. So I'm going to mark the bottom of these candles, not the wicks. I'm just kind of go with what I think looks the most important, and then there, and then there. Okay, now I am doing the wick on this because it came down here, and so I just kind of want to mark this area. And actually, let's do something here. I'm going to draw a box in, I think right here. So a rectangle. We're going to draw a rectangle from basically, let's go right here, and we'll go down to this area, right there. And so we see this came back up here. This shouldn't be a shocker to you. I drew this based on what was happening over here. And then you can see we came back up to that same area right here before we made this other push down. And then look at all this trading that happened in here. We came back up. We traded up above here. So I've got my eye on some things. So we have some things happening down here that I start to like. Here's a low. Here's a higher low. Here's a high. Here's a higher high right there. And then we have a higher low, and now we have a higher high. So this thing's really starting to move up, and it's starting to make some stair step up, and I like that, okay? So now I'm looking at where do I want to get long? And to me, I can see the top of the box right here. That looks real good. 07, 75, 08 half, somewhere in this area. And a little bit of this is about just having a feel for the market of, how strong is how big is the momentum. I would really like a little bit of a pullback to this 07 half area. And maybe they even want to come back to 07, something like that. So I'm going to mark a couple of areas where I want to get long. So right here at the top of this box. And then I'm not going to mark this right now, but I might come back and use that. And then kind of the bottom of this would be a good area to be looking for. And that also is the midpoint of the box. So I would really say here or here, these are the two areas. So if I want to buy 07.75 or I want to buy 05 quarter. So I don't know what happens next. Okay, so what happened? And you can do this a couple ways. You can put your order right here at the top of the box. You can have it a tick or so in front of it. You could have 0850. That's what I said, somewhere in this area. So what happened? They came down within a tick or so, a tick from there. And your job is really to get long between here. That's really your job. So if you didn't get long, that's okay. I'm going to show you what you can do next. So you got to wait for a pullback. So let's just see where we still would not be out of the question to get a pullback to this 08 half or 07, even 05. So let's just see what if they pull it back a little bit, we want to get long again somewhere between here and here. Okay, so there's the pullback. So now I'm going to get long in that area, okay? And great, now I'm long, and if it doesn't work, if this doesn't go and really make a push and starts coming back, then I want to get out at break even, and I want to buy down here. So let's just see what happens. Okay, all looking fine so far. All right, so depending on where I got in here, they use this as support, and now they're using this as support. I don't want it to come any lower right now. So I'm not going to get out at break even yet, but I don't want it to come any lower. I want it to push or if it starts coming back, I will get out. Okay, so all fine. So they held this as support. I think, let's see if they held that to the tick right there. Yeah. So they held to the tick of where we drew our line in from before. So there was where we drew our line in, and they held that to the tick right there. So really good sign. Now they've got to start pushing up. And now what I'm doing is I'm going back on the chart and I'm looking at these. Let's see, a couple of things I want to notice. Where were the pullback areas? So we're out of the woods here on any of these. We're really up above. Here was some pullback area, that kind of. So this would probably be something to look out for, maybe. You know what I'm actually going to do is put in another. I'm actually going to do another rectangle here, basically from right here and like that. I'm just kind of looking at what, so right here, traded up into that, fell, traded up into it, fell, traded through it, traded back from it, came down, big push through it, came back up, really tried through here, pushed a little higher. This would be kind of the next area that I'm looking for. So I'm just going to be looking for a few things here. This is kind of my next area where I want it to push up into, is up into this area. So at this point, I'm long here. Let's just call it OA. I'm long OA, and I'm looking for a push up into this area. And I'm going to talk about if you're trading 1 or 2 or 3 or multiple contracts. We'll talk about how to handle that. So there we go. It looks like I'm like cheating or something, like I went through and memorized this stuff, but I didn't. I don't even know. Yeah, this was Thursday. I didn't even know. I just randomly scrolled to a box where there was a losing trade, or what could have been a losing trade for some, and I wanted to go through it. So I didn't know this is what this did. But I've been doing this for a little while, so I'm kind of good at it. And if you practice, you can do that same thing. So it's not a coincidence that I drew this here and we came up to the tick to the bottom of that box. Now, I don't know what the next push is going to be, but here's what I'm looking for. If we're going to continue, and I'm really liking the buying, I really like buying, I'm going to be looking to take some profit up in here. And then if I get filled on my profit up there, I want to buy a pullback back to the top of this. So if they come back here, I want to buy this area, and I'm not going to give it a lot of room. But here's what happened is if I got filled at OA and I'm long OA and it comes up here 13 and I get filled at 13, now I just took 5 points. And so if I have size, if I'm trading 2 or 3, I can take 1 or 2 of those contracts off and then I can get back in. Now if I'm only trading 1, I could take 1 off up here and I can put 1 on back here. But either way, now I have a little bit of room. So I don't really want to give this much below this like 10 area. So if it comes back a lot more than that 10 area, I might just scrap the trade and wait for another entry. So let's just see. Okay, so they come down here and they push through 10. I'm looking for a pretty quick reaction. So it comes down, it touches 10.5, and then it starts to move up. It goes a 1.5 in my favor, or sorry, comes down right here. It goes a point in my favor. Doesn't get back up above that high. I'm probably not going to just sit on this. So I might end up giving a tick or 2 back. I might end up making a tick or 2. It's just going to depend on how I manage it. And then I'm going to get flat and I'm going to wait for the next move, which is either going to be a bigger pullback into this 05. They still didn't come back here to the tick, so I'm suspicious if they want to come right back here to the tick. They came within a tick, but they didn't come to the tick. So we're just going to watch that. Okay, so they move back up here now. Now I want to get long at 10.5 again. So why? Because they came down, they used this as support again. They came back up. They came right here. This is really the only place that I can buy. So I would have gotten filled here at 10.5. And then I'm looking for how far can they push up here. And then the next place I could buy, see if I can take some profit, then I can buy it right here again at 11.5, which was this swing high right there. So here we go. Basically, let's see. I had that drawn as 16. So 1575. So over here they came to what I drew in, they came to the bottom of it to the tick, and they came right here within a tick from the top of it. Now, is this going to be the high of that move? I don't think so. It looks like we've got more room to run, but I would have areas in my mind that I'm watching, which would be these sort of areas. So I'd be looking for those kinds of areas of where I want to scale out and take profit. Now, you can do this. I mean, look, this blue line worked great for taking some of your profit there. This green line worked great for taking some of your profit. This 22 area, I would bring that down a little bit, given all of this, or at least be actively watching this to see how it reacts up in this area. So these lines that are on the chart that the box draws in, they're great. And as you get more advanced, you're going to see there's a lot more opportunities for profit. So as long as we're in a buy signal, I'm buying pullbacks. So this would be, well, this would be extremely aggressive buying 13, and I probably wouldn't do that. And then this would really be where I'd want to buy. If I miss 13 and it breaks out and comes back, I'll have another opportunity to get in. But I think 11.5 area, I like that as a potential long. Okay, so it's starting, you see those two big wicks up there, they're kind of starting to consolidate through that. There's a pullback. 13 kind of holding. Let's see. 13 is hold. Okay, they don't get back up above there. Okay, right here. 13's holding. 13 quarter, 13 whatever right there is holding. They come back up here. They don't take this out, but then they come back down here. Now, this is where you got to decide. It's pretty risky. I mean, it's aggressive. But you could basically try it here at 13 quarter, and if it doesn't work, your risk would be like a few ticks. You know, you could basically manage your risk just below this swing right there. So, and if it doesn't get back up above here, you take it off at break even. Okay, so it goes up to 17. There we go, pretty close to what I'm looking for up here. Now I want to buy a pullback between this 1550 to all the way up to the 17 area. So I'm going to watch it as it pulls back there. Yeah, so right there. So 16, surprisingly, the top of the box that we drew in right there. And, okay, so it starts to come back down. So where could this come? It's a little tricky. It could come back to this 1550. So you could say, I'm going to just hold this from 16. It already went up 3 points from where you got in. Are you going to hold it? What do you how are you going to treat that? Because they still could come all the way back here to this 11.5, which would be a lot more ideal for another big push up. So they're holding that. They don't get above 20 there. They come back. What do they use? So this time, they're probably going to come lower than 16. So they come back to 1475. We said you could buy 1550 area. That's only 3 ticks. I mean, that's pretty close there. And then off to the races, and let's bring that back into view here. Now, what we didn't do is we didn't look any further back on the chart here to see what was going on over here. So we had this area. So this would probably be the next area that I'm looking for. Well, let's see. So this is certainly something to look out for. It was the top of the box over here. So certainly an area to look out for. See if we can keep pushing through that. If we can, then let's see. This would be the next area, and then there. There. So let's just see how that all plays out as we move along here. So where would we buy a pullback? Well, really, here would be first. I mean, here's extremely aggressive, and then really this area. So like something like that. We can just get rid of this one probably, or bring it down there. They really use that as support already, so below that would really be back down to here. Yeah, so if they can't hold up in this area, then we could start to look for them to bring it back down to here for a pullback. But they're using this one as support. So where can I buy a pullback? Right here now. Okay, you can start to see that, right? So here's the high. I can buy a pullback right there. It's aggressive. So, okay, comes back, starts to move. If they don't really start to get some follow through, I don't want to hang on to this forever. So there's a good move. So now I'm long 24, and we drew in up there at 34. So I'm always just kind of looking back here and going, is there anything on the chart that I maybe just didn't see, or what? I mean, look, there was a lot of trading that happened in this area, so it's definitely something I want to pay attention to and just see. And especially as this move starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, I want to be careful about how aggressive I am buying the very most aggressive pullbacks. So here's the swing up here. Here's, you could add to this. So you're taking some of your profit on the way up. You're adding to it right there. And then let's see if if this doesn't work really quick, then you take it off because you know that they can come really back to any of these three back here. So this works pretty quick. So here's an example. You buy right here. Doesn't quite work out. It comes back, tries for a little bit, comes back. You don't want to hold that. So now we can wait for some bigger pullback. And if we really start to break out again, no problem. We can add back into it. And if you're trading size, you still are holding some from down here, and you're up 20 something points on this trade already. And you've been adding to it on all these pullbacks all the way up here, which I'm going to do a video talking a little bit about how to do some of that. So here they go. They come back and they hold that, and then they start to push again. So if I got out right here, and maybe you didn't, but if you got out right here, you could always get back in when it comes back to it. And then here's our price that we had. Great. So now can they pull back into this area? Oh, they do right there to the tick. They immediately move up 3 points. Okay, now they're holding right there. So I want to scale out of this. I'm long here. I get 3.5 points on this. This trade has now made me, I was long from 08 and it went all the way up here to 35.5. So I'm up 20 some points on this trade, plus all of what I've gotten on that. I'm way up on this trade. I'm maybe up 30 or 40 or 50 points, depending on how I did on adding in my size and scaling out as it went up along. And I'll have a specific video on that coming, not just for the box, but how to do that in general. So here is, they hold right here. This is super important. Are they going to end up holding this? And then we've really kind of pulled back to all these areas right here. So at this point, it would really make sense. I'm just moving this out of the way. At this point, it would really make sense to come back into one of these three areas. We've had this big move up. We probably need some bigger pullback. If it breaks out again and starts moving, we'll buy pullbacks again. But for now, that's been a pretty good move. So you can see they're stair-stepping lower. Okay, we come back up, but look, we're high, lower, high, lower, high. Let's see what the next move is. And I really have no idea. I don't know if it breaks out here. Okay, great. So now they come back up here. Still no breakout. Still doesn't break out above here. They're trying, but they're holding below this 34.25 area there. So now they start to get some push up above here. And we can see, okay, there's 27.37.5. So it doesn't mean I'm not still long from down here, but I'm just being a little more cautious on how aggressively I'm buying the pullback. And that doesn't mean I'm doing it the right way. So now that they broke right here, see, they really broke right there. This would be most aggressive. And then, I don't want to complicate this, but something like I'm starting to look at, see how they're using that trend line. So somewhere right in this area. And if I can do that with pretty small risk, a few ticks. Okay, and then they don't really hold that. And there's just a lot going on in here. I just don't really, the candles are definitely smaller. It's a consolidation range that's starting to happen. So I'm not going to hold this long until there's some more momentum. Okay, great. There's your break. I don't have to wait for the candles to close. That's just my own personal style of trading. I'm not looking. I don't have to say, well, I'm only going to trade if the candles broke or if the candle closes. So if I can see they come down, they hold, and they start to move up away, and I can go, yeah, I'm going to buy 34, and I'll put a limit order here at 34, and then here's the move up. We drew in this support and resistance. So there is your most aggressive trade, and then we have back to here. So they come back to the top of that, and so we're long again at whatever that is, 30, let's just call it 36. And then here's your pullback area. Actually can get rid of that because we don't need that. So here's your area for your long right here from 36. That goes up 6 points up to there. Pulls back right here. So where could they come back to? Somewhere in this area maybe. Let's move that up a little bit like that. Something like that. Let's see if they can hold up somewhere in that area. They come back to 34.5. bounces, not working. So this looks like some failure happening. And no major breakdown, no, the box has not reversed signals or anything. There's no new box, but we are now starting to move lower, and we'll see if they can actually make a real big push. So I'm very cautiously buying a pullback, and then maybe a little quicker to secure break even or to secure some profit. Now we start to see, okay, maybe they're going to get that bigger pullback that we've been anticipating. So now they're holding that area, they break it. So where do we really need to, we really need to break out above over here to start to get some move back. Right, so let's see what the next candle brings. So they're starting to move up here. They already came back and tested here. Okay, great. They come back right here. They're starting to move. There you go. So, you know, I left this drawn in here for a reason. It was one of those more significant areas. They've held around here. They broke. They came back. They broke. So they've been using this. It's been a kind of a significant area. So you're long from 35. That goes 10 points. That's $500, guys, on one E-mini. You know, you're up. I don't know if I didn't add up the points, but you're up at least a few grand on this one trade, just talking about managing it the way we're managing it. So where's the pullback? Right here, this area, right? Somewhere between 38 quarter and 36 half. Nothing happening here, right? And in the back of my mind, I'm pretty much constantly thinking they haven't come back and retested these. They probably are going to have to do a bigger pullback at some point. So now they're using this to go lower. Okay, so now I want to start to pay attention. Are they going to bounce from here? So there's your first bounce. So you're long here at, let's just call it 20 area. And that trade's gone 12.5 points already. By the way, that's $600 on one contract if you're keeping track of that. Oh, sorry, I should have been. You're long. You can add again right here, right? So it pulls back here. You can add right here. So you're long right here. Again, from, let's call it 29. The thing goes already 5 points right there. You can add right here when it comes back there. You have this that you could add on. So somewhere in here you can be adding again 32, 33. Big push. That's another 10. That's another $500 right there. And this thing starting to look real strong. Oh, this is right at the close of the day. Okay, so you know, that's how I'm managing. I'm using the box for this one trade at the end of the day here was a, you know, we managed this losing trade. What would have been a, technically, I guess you could have, you know, considered, it went from 0.2 down to, so it went less than 3 points from the signal right here. And we managed this in a way that you would have not lost any money, and maybe even made a tick or two, which is not what we're playing for. We're not doing this for ticks. And then this whole move up here, you could have made, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 trading one contract on this move up here. If you've got 2 or 3 contracts, this is a $10,000 trade probably. You know, you're long here and you're adding and adding and adding, and the whole way up this thing, you're taking some of your profits, you're adding back in. And I'll do a video on how to do that. Anyway, so there you have it. They came back, they tested, they had this, you know, big move up. There's your box signal. We break right here. So where am I looking to get long? Let's just, one last time we'll walk through this here. This is right at the close. Really crazy times that we've been having right at the close. So what am I looking at? Well, I really don't like anything right here for sure with all of the, I'm going to go with the box, with the rectangle here, because I don't really like what I'm seeing. So, all right, so I could be a buyer somewhere in this area, but they really, what could we lean on here? So we have the top of the box, there's your buy signal. They pull back right into this area. I don't want to rebuy that again. They've already come back and tested the midpoint of the box. You've got this, maybe the bottom of the box, like a last chance opportunity. So where could you buy here? So it pops up here. and you go, okay, I could get long right here at the top of the box. It's really aggressive because so here you go, well, I want to wait for this to close up above here. Great, looks like they're going to start to do that. So what if you got long right here? It's really quick. It's really short risk. It's 5 minutes before the close. You're not giving this long. So maybe this area, well, really, sorry. You really should have been using this area right here. And so that bounces from 94.50. It bounces 5 ticks, doesn't work. You scratch the trade. Where else are you buying? I mean, they've been back right here. See, they've used this area right there. They've been back there and tested that. That's pretty much used. That's pretty much used. This was used right there. I just don't see, you know, the bottom of the box is like you're trying to just hold on for something. And so you could try it there, but it can't even get back up above over here, what we marked off here and there. So there's just not a lot happening here. So there's your sell signal right there. Now what? Well, now I have my first opportunity to get short, which would be right here. And then above here, I would really look for it to come, yeah, probably here, that area. And I don't know what this does. I don't know if it bounces back up here. And then there. And then there. I know these are close together, but just want to give you some idea here. So bounces up there. We're holding below here. And we come right back down into here, which of course that would be here's your signal. There's your short at 40, let's just call it 43. And you've moved down to 34. So there's a 9-point trade, that's 450 bucks. And then, you know, it's the close. It's been wild at the close. So there you have it. That's how I'm personally managing my trades. It's how I'm looking for where can I add in, how can I minimize my risk, how can I get the most out of this, how can I follow what the direction of the box is. Again, if you want to get the box, there's a link below here. And you can also go check it out, daytradelikeapro.com, tools for traders. But I'll put the link here below this video. So hopefully that's helpful, and I will see you guys real soon.